We were expecting a presentation by NVIDIA. They had a last minute personnel change, and I was able to turn to my friend Jeff Olm, who was a very early member of Digital Cinema Society, because I had advertised that we were going to talk about VR post. And I don't think there's anybody that really knows more about VR post than Jeff. There's a lot of people that claim to be experts, but Jeff's the real deal. He's been at the cutting edge of entertainment technology as a colorist, VFX artist, VR, AR guru. He's worked at companies like Digital Domain and Technicolor on projects such as Titanic, Fifth Element, Terminator, et cetera, et cetera. He's now pioneering cinematic virtual reality at Jaunt VR and is co-chair of the VR AR Association's Stories and Audience Committees. Jeff's going to tell us about what cinematic VR is and just all kinds of stuff about VR. Take it away.
A little bit. It's a little bit of a grab bag. Great. So I'm a little bit of everything. I started out 35 years ago as a tape operator, assistant editor. Moved into compositing for features about 22 years ago. My first films were Titanic and Fifth Element. I then moved into being a colorist. Some of my last projects were a couple Marvel movies, and then I was on-set colorist for The Revenant with Chivo and AGI. Recently, I moved into virtual reality and into being a creative director. So I'm able to do my own projects. I saw that as an opportunity, new medium, completely different, as a way to step in to be a creative director. One of the challenges of VR is moving the camera and dealing with post in moving the camera, getting the rigs, having the objects close. Some of the camera rigs, you can't be any closer than 3 feet. The other thing is you don't have a camera operator normally. The camera operator can't be in the shot. If he is, you need to get rid of him. And the other thing you also need to do is potentially do rig removal on the things. I'm going to show you a couple of the different applications. The first one that I use is made by Color, which was bought by GoPro, and it is called AutoPanel Video. And it's one of the easier programs to use as far as straightforward simplification. One of the big things that's different about VR is how you have to do the dailies. It's a big challenge to get these 24 camera rigs, the 3 camera rigs, 4 camera rigs, and get all those camera cards stitched into a way that you can get it into editorial. One of the quick and efficient ways to do that is through AutoPanel Video, which is specifically made for GoPro projects. It's also capable of stereoscopic stitching. That brings an added challenge. 2 camera stereo was difficult enough, and now we're talking 24, 36 camera stereo rigs, and it's a really big challenge. Some of the lists of the features that are specific to color. The GoPro importing, it makes it easier. Logging, if you can understand how keeping track of 1 camera card at a time is difficult, imagine that you have 24 camera cards for each take that need to be sunk with audio, and it's a pretty daunting task. One of the other tools that I use for stitching is called the SGO Mystica. This is about a 4-month-old product, very feature-rich, has a great user interface, runs on Mac and Windows, and right now is the hottest thing to use as an operator. The price point is also very compelling. It's about $60 a month for just the software. One of the other powerful things about it, it does use optical flow. You can imagine the challenge of taking 24 cameras, stitching them together and getting them seamless. Optical flow really helps a lot with that. So this is a really good tool for that. One of the other powerful things about the SGO Mystica, if you look down there, 40 different camera presets. And that's just the start of it. There's probably about 80 to 100 different camera configurations. There's a ton of rigs out there. You know, right now in the field we have 4 camera red rigs, 6 camera red rigs, stereo 16 camera red rigs. So all that data, if you shoot that at 6 and 8K, the shoots come back with terabytes of data, all different cards. So organization is very important. One of the other tools that I use daily is called Cara VR. Cara is made by the Foundry, and it's a plug-in for the Nuke camera package. The best thing about that is it's really good for rig removals, tracking. It has the full Nuke tool set in it, and then it also has a stitching, bunch of stitching packages to do it. The learning curve on it is very high. It's also very expensive. So these are some of the other things that it does: mono, stereo, and the fact that you can just do your normal stereo compositing in VR and use kind of the same tricks. So there's a deep artist pool for this all over the world, which makes it very efficient for large productions to use at like the Mill, Technicolor, and Deluxe. The other advantage is it does have a headset review mechanism. So it's always really good to be able to check your work right there in the headsets. This uses a lot of solving, at the very beginning. And if you look at that, you have point clouds, you have stitching clouds. It's pretty heavy duty. And the learning curve for a experienced nuke artist, it's probably a good 2-3 months to be able to get up to speed on it. So it's definitely a challenge. One of the other important things, so with stereo, and I worked in stereo for about 10 years, did the first live action film, Journey to the Center of the Earth. With 2 cameras, you'd have to shoot using a beam splitter. With this multiple rigs, you have to match the cameras. And basically, if you shoot with like the 2-camera rig, you have the sun on one side and then the other side is shade. Well, those seams need to meet up and be seamless. So the algorithms they have and that Mystica have are really good at doing that. It's very difficult to do that kind of work manually. Okay, then the other part of it is the 360 tracking, match moving. All that is very complex, even in 2D, even harder in 3D. Match moving a 3D scene in 360 is very difficult. The Nuke tool and MOCA VR, and there's only a few packages that do it, and once again, they're very specialized. Yes, you can shoot green screens with it. I would recommend only using the professional cameras for that, using the Reds, the Alexa Minis, the Codex cameras. Don't even attempt the Kodak camera or any of these. People do all the time. It ends up being a roto job. So you need to use your cinematography background and expertise in using the right camera to shoot a green screen. Otherwise, if you cheap out on the camera, you end up paying a lot in post. I bought a Oculus DK2 development kit 3 years ago. I still use it today on the Macs. It's the only thing that works on the Macs. The Apple's working at things. One of the big things that set them back was using the AMD GPUs. NVIDIA seems to have a bit more of I'll give NVIDIA a plug, they're supposed to be here. NVIDIA has a bit more of a jump as far as the computers and working in VR. So it's the Macs are still kind of behind on that end of it. That's why I'm using a 3-year-old headset even today. Then the last package I'm going to talk about is made by Simulate, and it's called Scratch VR. It is a finishing system. You can add text to it. The first movie that I did in stereo, I used in Scratch 12 years ago. It's a good product. It's a versatile Swiss Army knife. It's not, I wouldn't say it's as great as Resolve and Baselight and some of those other packages, but as far as VR, it's really a great tool. One of the things that it does is it allows you to, when you use to make shapes and things like that, it actually duplicates the shape on the other side of the image. Scratch has 2 products. One of the nice things about them is that they also have a monthly subscription model. So you can either get the VR or just the simple tools to play things back. There we go.
Jeff, that was great.